All right, so I owe you guys an explanation. This actual podcast right now, this episode was supposed to be out on Saturday. Instead, it's going to be out on Sunday. I'm scheduling it for, let's say 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Mediokr Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. Thank you for tuning in. So I wanted to touch on a couple of situations. Number one, I'm going to add Timberwolves content to this podcast. So not only Vikings talk, but if you're a Timberwolves fan, you can catch this show and get your content there. But I also just remembered I didn't even touch on the Everson Griffin situation because I was so hot after that Rams-Vikings game that, quite honestly, I just forgot. I wasn't ducking it. I just simply forgot about it. And then there's a couple of other things from that Rams-Vikings game that I wanted to touch on. So first, real quick, as far as the Everson Griffin situation, hey, man, he's got to get himself better. He posted on Instagram that he's hoping to come out to be a better person than before, and we wish him all the best. This dude has bigger things to worry about than football right now. As far as on the football side of things, if we're talking about the defensive side of the ball and having that one player that could be that vocal leader to get the rest of these players back into check, it would be Everson Griffin. But we're going to have to move on without him until he's ready to come back. Here's the thing about mental health and stress and depression and all that stuff. When you're dealing with it, it's a serious issue. It doesn't matter whether you're famous or rich or not rich or whatever. It doesn't matter. Mental health can affect anybody at any time. And hey, I deal with stuff myself. And when you're dealing with stress all the time and you're just gritting and bearing it throughout everyday life, just keeping it in all the time, and you're just getting through the day, then all of a sudden you could just drop your keys or spill a glass of water and you just feel like you just lost it. So you know what? He's doing the best he can. I wish him the best. Hopefully he comes back better than before. He's got bigger things to worry about. He's still a member of society. This man is a father. This man is a husband. Hopefully he can come back and be better than ever. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on the Vikings game, a couple of the Vikings-Rams games, a couple of things that you guys pointed out. And by the way, I don't say this enough, but I really do appreciate you all the subscribers, the listeners, the viewers. Thank you. We wouldn't be here without you guys. So this is therapy for me. This is like a daily ritual. So whatever happens to this show, hey, it is what it is. I'll take whatever. If nothing else, this is just a hobby for me that just makes me feel good. So I enjoy doing this, whether this becomes a big thing or not. I enjoy talking sports, especially to all those that are willing to put up with me for this long. Going into season 3 of this podcast. But anyway, a couple of things I wanted to touch on that I didn't in the last podcast because I was just going off on the defense for the most part. Is number one, a couple of you guys mentioned, why don't you run the ball? Why didn't Flip run the ball more? What's going on? We're not able to get any type of run game going because we're not calling run plays. And you're right, we're not calling run plays. And I'm not going to blame Flip for that as far as why we're not running the ball. I'm going to blame Rick Spielman. The reason why Flip isn't running the ball is because we can't run the ball. Last time that I checked, the Minnesota Vikings are 29th in the league after that Thursday night game against the Rams, 29th in the league in rushing yards per carry at 3.5 rushing yards per carry. That's bottom of the barrel status right there. These running backs are getting hit as soon as they get the ball. And if we have no type of push from this run blocking of the offensive line. No type of push whatsoever to where it's like you might as well just Kirk Cousins having to throw the ball 50, 55 times a game these last 2 games. And I feel bad for him because he didn't sign up for this. Not only do we not have push on the run blocking, we don't have a defense to where it's like, okay, if we spot you 31 points defense, just get a stop. Just do what you've been doing all last year. And so far since the playoffs and going into this year, this defense just hasn't been the same. This looks like a last place defense right now. It really does. So as far as why are they not running the ball, they just simply can't. They're averaging 3.5 yards per carry, and most of the yards from on the rushing game are coming from the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. That's absolutely inexcusable. But the reason why, and here's the thing, you're not going to call running plays because if you're not getting any type of run whatsoever, all you're doing is forfeiting drives. You're forfeiting downs, forfeiting possessions to where you're setting up 3rd and long. And this pass protecting offensive line, it's okay. But as far as trying to win a Super Bowl, it's not really all that great. Pat Elflein being back certainly helps, but you need better. You really, really do. And if you're setting up 3rd and long passes because you're too busy, damn it, we're going to run the ball no matter what, that's not doing any good for your offense overall. So I don't blame Flip for that. I blame Rick Spielman. And the reason why I blame Rick Spielman, both in running and pass protecting on the offensive line, is because you didn't address the offensive line for this year in the draft when that was clearly the #1 priority. Y'all had to get cute and go and get Mike Hughes. I guess you had to kiss Mike Zimmer's ass. Damn it, I want a defensive player. Well, congratulations, Mike Zimmer. You got your defensive player, and your defense is still trash this year. So I hope, and here's the thing, in real time, everybody was sitting there expecting at the 30th pick in the draft in the first round, we were saying, oh, Will Hernandez, it's all good. We're going to get Will Hernandez. No big deal. Joe Berger retired, right guard. That's our biggest question mark on the offensive line. Mike Remmers, he was okay at right tackle. It's all good, baby. Pat Elflein, he's going to come back. We still got Riley Reef. Hey, it's all good. We will figure this out. And you didn't do it. Not only did you not replace Joe Berger, you decided to play musical chairs with the offensive line like you've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, Rick Spielman. You said, you know what, Mike Remmers, we're going to take you to where you were actually okay at right tackle, and we're going to just switch you over at right guard because you're a fat guy. You're an offensive lineman. You can play anywhere you want. Musical chairs. We don't need to address this offensive line. We just need more defensive players and blah, 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 blah. Well, this run blocking has been a disaster. Mike Remmers has been awful at right guard. In pass protecting, okay, but as far as the run blocking is concerned, you got Pat Elflein back. Tom Compton, he's okay, not necessarily in the run blocking, but he's okay at times. He hasn't been a disaster that I thought he would be, but Mike Remmers is not that guy in run blocking. He's getting barreled out there. And now not only that, you've created a question at right guard. You then, by moving Mike Remmers from right tackle to right guard, you then make a question at right tackle by having Rashad Hill be your starting right tackle. And here's the thing. I said within your first 3 picks, you need 2 starting caliber offensive linemen for this year, not a project offensive lineman like Brian O'Neill. He's not even ready right now. And you know what's interesting? I got ripped for that podcast because I gave the Vikings draft a D. I gave them a D because you didn't address the offensive line. And with your $84 million investment, people are talking about why did he not take responsibility for that last drive and fumbling the football? And he needs to get better pocket presence and all this stuff. Here's the thing, and I'm blaming Rick Spielman on that too, not Kirk Cousins. This has been Kirk Cousins his entire career. Going back to Washington, he's never had sense in the pocket whatsoever. He's never sensed pressure. This is just who he is. He's a statue back there. He just stands there and he just assumes that he's going to get protection nonstop. So knowing that about him, instead of acting like this dude all of a sudden he's going to take a 180 and then all of a sudden develop pocket presence when that's never been his game, you need to beef up the offensive line. But you said, nah, the hell with that. We're good. We're good. We're just going to do what we've been doing the last couple of years as in be ignorant. But oh no, oh God forbid, there's a kicker right there. We'll trade up in the 5th round for him. It's just funny seeing this now because I'm checking this out. And I know Pro Football Focus, they're not the end-all, be-all when it comes to everything. They're not necessarily gospel, but I think they're pretty confident in what it is that they do as far as particular grades. Are you good or not? And right now, they have Will Hernandez. You had Will Hernandez chilling right there. You could have took him in the 1st round, or you could have traded up in the 2nd round to get him. But oh, no. We're going to take a defensive player, and we're going to take a project offensive lineman that doesn't help us right now. Good job, Rick Spielman. Will Hernandez, according to Pro Football Focus, has the highest grade of rookie offensive linemen through the first 3 weeks, but after Mike McGlinley for the San Francisco 49ers and Brian O'Neill is 3rd. But he's not playing. He's not ready. Will Hernandez with a grade of 75.8, Brian O'Neill 67.3, and one is a competent contributing starter right now. The other is sitting behind the bench on a shaky offensive line. Really? You don't think that would help our running game right there? Absolutely it would. Could you imagine if Will Hernandez and Pat Elflein and let's say Brett Jones was the interior offensive lineman or Tom Compton, take your pick between the two. I don't really care. And you could have Mike Remmers back at right tackle and Riley Reef at left tackle. Can you imagine how much better, more improved this offensive line would be? But no, y'all decided to get cute. And it's funny because we all said this in real time, get a right guard, but you said, nah, we're cool. And now this disaster that you're in, all I can do is sit back. I can't even get mad at this team anymore because I expected this. I expected this to happen. It seemed like everybody knew this would happen, but y'all, oh, I didn't see this coming. What are we going to do about the offensive line? You could have did something about it in the draft, but instead you're sitting here because of the issues that you've taken, not even the issues that you've taken, the neglect that you've taken in the draft, Rick Spielman. This is all on you. You deserve to be on the hot seat. And then not only that, as far as officiating, look, people are talking about, hey, what about the bad calls, the officiating? specifically the illegal block in the back when Danielle Hunter, he chased down Todd Gurley after like a 50-yard screen and catch run after that. And the illegal block in the back. And what's interesting is because I'm not going to lie. Normally, I'm used to these bad officials to this point where I expect garbage officiating every single game, no matter who's playing. So I don't even get mad at it really anymore. But that illegal block in the back was what really ticked me off. I'm not even gonna lie, because it's not like they missed it. They threw the flag, and then they picked it up and said, no, that didn't happen, when there was a blatant illegal block in the back. And then when Adam Thielen was called down on no contact, these referees, they're trash straight up, so I can't even get mad anymore. I blame the defense more than anything else as far as not being able to get just a quarter of a stop on this Rams offense to where you could give this offense a chance, of the Minnesota Vikings, a chance to win the game. But instead, the defense, they look soft. They've been trash ever since the playoffs last year. So, Mike Zimmer, you need to delegate play calling to George Edwards and Rick Spielman. Damn it, I don't want to hear nothing else. My thing is this will be Rick Spielman. If this season keeps going the way that it's trending, as in no defense but all offense, Rick Spielman, this will be your last offseason next year. If you keep effing up this offensive line, you try to get cute again, and this offensive line is trash, you should be fired, straight up. This dude cannot keep getting the pass anymore. Everything else he does is great, but at the same time, you're basically wasting a year right now of the 3-year deal you have with Kirk Cousins. Congratulations, Rick. Good job to you. You had to get cute. You had to put tinted windows on the car instead of putting gas in it so that you could go out there and drive. We got to put tinted windows out here, baby. But, Rick, you got to go out there and drive, right? Yeah, we'll deal with the gas later. Oh, okay. Here you are. I don't want to hear nothing from them. So, anyway, now that we're done with that, now we're going to talk some Timberwolves stuff right now. And before we do that, if you're on the road and you're unable to watch this podcast on YouTube, Facebook, or videos, whatever the case may be, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes. You can just search on your podcast network, Realistic Randy, and you should be able to find me right there. So, all that aside, moving to basketball now. This Jimmy Butler situation is very interesting, and here's why. I never thought that anyone would ever be able to top what Kawhi Leonard did as far as being, in my opinion, before Jimmy Butler, this whole situation happened, as being the weakest move necessary as far as to force a trade. This was one of the weakest moves that I've ever seen to force a trade, what Kawhi Leonard did. And then all of a sudden, who is holding Jimmy Butler's beer right now? That's my question right now, because he topped that. He topped that tenfold, because at least the Spurs, and I thought Kawhi Leonard, he screwed the Spurs over. You basically sat out a whole year even though you were medically cleared. What the hell was that about? But at least the Spurs, they at least got some trade value out of it. They at least got DeMar DeRozan. I don't think DeMar DeRozan is all that great. He's been to a few All-Star games, but when it comes to the playoffs, and I don't want to hear about, he plays LeBron James. Victor Oladipo damn near eliminated LeBron James in the playoffs last year, in the last playoffs, excuse me. But DeMar DeRozan, I don't think he's all that hot, but at least they got DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. Okay, fine. Jimmy Butler's trying to force a trade at the 11th hour. You've basically reduced the Minnesota Timberwolves' leverage to zero. You've listed your destinations. I think it was Woes that reported this out. Woes, she's got all the bombs out there. But as far as what? You want it to be traded to either the Brooklyn Nets, the New York Knicks, or I believe the LA Clippers. And now, as of recently, now the Miami Heat is your preferred destination. And then Tom Thibodeau, he's trying to beg him to come back. Come on, Jimmy, just come on and make this happen. I'm very disappointed in how Jimmy Butler went about this trade request. Now, I understand if you're irritated with Jimmy Butler. I would be too if I'm a Wolves fan. But here's the thing. If Tom Thibodeau is still your coach and Jimmy Butler is gone, then I think you're going to end up suffering like you did before you broke that 13, 14-year drought before making it to the playoffs, because Jimmy Butler was the most valuable player for this Wolves team. He was the reason why they snapped that playoff drought and got into the playoffs last year. There's no doubt that Karl Anthony Towns, that he's the most talented player, but as far as the most valuable player, it was Jimmy Butler. So he's going to be gone. He's holding out. It is what it is. But here's what I'm going to say. Glenn Taylor, Tom Thibodeau, and Jimmy Butler, they are acting like kids, man. You know that what's that day, take your child to work day? It's like the parents, they took the children to work, and instead of like taking them to work and then show them, hey kids, this is what I do, this is what mommy and daddy does, what do you think of this? Instead of doing that, they took the kids to work, dropped them off, and said, hey guys, take care of our duties for us, will you? We're gonna go to happy hour. They're acting like kids. Glenn Taylor, at least he's somewhat putting his big boy pants on, because as an owner that he's been, at least he's taking some initiative with Tom Thibodeau. Because Tibbs, he first came out, he's like, we're not going to trade Jimmy Butler, and I don't care, blah, 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 this is what we're going to do. And Glenn Taylor said, oh, no, the hell you're not. You are going to trade him. You need to do this. And it's like Tibbs is basically half-assing it, because you saw the reports from the Miami Heat saying, oh, Tibbs' asking price is way too high. So it's one of those, hey, I'm trying, even though I'm not, because you want to keep Jimmy there. There's no reason to keep him there. He's a top 15 player in the league. You might as well get something for him. Now, here's what I will say as far as any way that you can at least get some sort of value back. I think there is an opportunity for the Timberwolves to actually win this trade, or at least win a trade with Jimmy Butler, and here's how. But it starts with Glenn Taylor. I don't think he's going to do this, but if he does do it, I think this will be the start of something great for the Wolves. If he doesn't do this, then Wolves fans, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to suffer for another couple of years. I'm sorry. But Glenn Taylor needs to fire Tom Thibodeau right now. Forget the fact that you're overrated, not even overrated. Forget the fact that you've ever been rated as a coach, because from what I've seen these last couple of years since you've been with Minnesota, you look at these other teams in the league, it seems like there's at least some sort of system behind it. Like the Boston Celtics, they share the ball, much like the Golden State Warriors. They've got a stacked team, but what they do is they dribble it 2 or 3 times, and if something's not there, they pass it to the open man. They keep passing, find the most efficient shot, and go from there. The Houston Rockets, they play a lot of ISO ball, but what they do is rotate possessions between facilitating the offense between either Chris Paul or James Harden. They flip back and forth between those two guys. There's always some sort of system with the rest of these teams. The Minnesota Timberwolves, it's like they're just grinding their way to wins, and they're just basically grinding their way through talent to where Tom Thibodeau, he's doing all this yelling like switch, defense, go this, do that. But he's doing a lot of yelling, but he's not doing that much coaching. So forget the fact that you're not even good as a coach. Like, you're basically stunting the growth of all these players that you've got right now. Now, you need shooting and rim protection. I'm going to get into that a little bit. You got Anthony Tolliver, but who knows how much you're going to play him, because you've never played your bench that much. All you do is run your starters into the ground. Forget the fact that you're a terrible coach. I don't trust Tom Thibodeau to get fair value back, or at least maximize the value that you can get back for Jimmy Butler right now. I wouldn't put it past Tom Thibodeau. I would not be shocked whatsoever, because this dude only seems to be interested in going after former players that he's coached when he was with the Chicago Bulls. You already got Jimmy Butler. He's holding out. He's not going to come back. He's going to hold out until he gets traded. Okay, fine. You got Derrick Rose. You've got Taj Gibson. You went out of your way to sign Luol Deng. Luol Deng does nothing for this team right now. So instead of trying to find the best players and maximize this whole team as a whole and win the most games possible, all you're interested in doing is repeating what you've been doing before, just staying in familiar territory, and it's not going to help the team whatsoever. So what do? You go for the old players that you're used to knowing, going after old Chicago Bulls players. I would not be surprised if Tom Thibodeau goes out of his way. Okay, fine, Jimmy Butler. You want to go to the New York Knicks? I wouldn't put it past Tom Thibodeau to trade Jimmy Butler to the New York Knicks for Joakim Noah. Why? Because he coached him when he was with the Chicago Bulls. I wouldn't put it past him. I think to turn this whole disaster around, you need to fire Tom Thibodeau. He's a terrible coach. And all he's going to do is botch this trade for Jimmy Butler, or even worse, he's going to sit there and keep his arms folded and say, we're not trading you, and you're just going to carry this drama all throughout the regular season, and then all of a sudden, who knows, maybe you'll make the playoffs, maybe you won't. If you do, it's going to be 8 seed. The Western Conference is always tough, but you're really going to have a tough time now with Utah on the rise, with LeBron James going to the Lakers. I don't know. Maybe you'll make it as an 8th seed, but you're going to botch this trade. You're going to botch this trade attempt, or you're going to let him walk, carry this whole drama with you in the entire regular season, and let him walk away for absolutely nothing. Now, if it were me, if I were president of basketball operations, because if I was Glenn Taylor, I'd fire Tibbs and let Scott Layden or hire somebody else to do the general manager duties. But if I were president of basketball operations, if I were Tom Thibodeau right now, what I would do, here's the thing. Like I said before, the Timberwolves, what they need, in my humble opinion, is perimeter shooting. You got it with Anthony Tolliver, but he's not going to start. And like I said, Tibbs never plays his bench players whatsoever unless you're Derrick Rose because he knows you from your time with the Bulls. But you need starting perimeter shooting, and you need rim protection. I understand that Karl Anthony Towns, he's a 7-foot big man, but he's not good defensively, at least not consistently, and he's not that rim protecting center that you need, especially if he's going against a Boogie Cousins or Anthony Davis, a DeAndre Jordan, or God forbid a Joel Embiid. He's just going to get bodied left and right. He's not going to be able to stop them. I think you've got an opportunity there with the Miami Heat to address both situations. Now, because of cap situation, these players that I'm going to mention, you're going to need a third team. But here's what you can get from the Miami Heat. As far as rim protection is concerned, the Miami Heat have been looking to get rid of Hassan Whiteside forever. I understand that Hassan Whiteside has not lived up to his contract. Right now, let's see, I got it up right here according to Spotrac.com. He's got 2 years left on his $98.5 million deal. This year, he's going to make $25.5 million. And next year, his final year, he'll make just over $27 million. But I believe with good coaching and paired with Karl Anthony Towns, because you're not going to ask for him to do a lot. Just, hey, defense in the paint, rebounding, block some shots. Now, if you're asking Hassan Whiteside to defend in space, that's his weakness. We saw him in the playoffs with the Miami Heat going against the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid abused him. In fact, Hassan Whiteside had to be on the bench for the most part for a lot of that series. But I think having Hassan Whiteside just underneath the basket will allow Karl Anthony Towns to play more in space. And, hey, you've got Jeff Teague there. And assuming that you can get this other perimeter shooter, one of two perimeter shooters that the Miami Heat has, along with Hassan Whiteside, allowing Karl Anthony Towns to play in space, that could really optimize things a little bit. Andrew Wiggins, I'm not going to pile on him like I've already done in the past. He is who he is. He's making, 5 years, $150.5 million, whatever it is. No one's going to take that contract, so you're just stuck with him. But Hassan Whiteside, you can get him because they want to get rid of him ASAP. And two perimeter guys that the Miami Heat has. The Miami Heat, they're stacked, man. They've got two shooters that I'm thinking about as far as perimeter shooting. Number one is Josh Richardson. So Josh Richardson, make sure I don't get tongue twisted here. Josh Richardson, he's a career 38% three-point shooter, okay? That is exactly what you need. Now, he just signed last September 2017, a 4-year, $42 million contract extension. Now, if you're talking about taking that with Hassan Whiteside and his $52.5 million left on his contract, then you're talking about having to get, all right, Jimmy Butler, last I checked, he's making about just over $19 million this year. You pair that with, let's say, a Taj Gibson or a Gorgie Jang. If you can find a third team that will take that contract, there are certain things that you can do to try to free up cap space to make this all work. I really do believe that you can. If you get a third team involved, it makes things a whole lot easier. It's not necessarily impossible, but it's going to be tough. But I think the selling point that you have with the Miami Heat is, I understand I saw reports that they were like, we're not letting go of Josh Richardson. That's what the Heat said. But if you're offering to take my Hassan Whiteside off the books, I think Pat Riley would be willing to listen. Or if they're not budging on that, you could look at Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson reminds me of a poor man's Zach LaVine. I don't want to, bring up the past as far as how the Chicago Bulls, who would have thought the Chicago Bulls would have won that Jimmy Butler trade with Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and that draft pick, Lauri Markkanen. But Tyler Johnson, he's very smooth game. Like I said, poor man's version of Zach LaVine. Tyler Johnson is a career 37% three-point shooter. Now, his contract right now, what I'm looking at according to Spotrac.com, he's also got 2 years left at just over $19 million per the next 2 years before his contract is up, and he'll be an unrestricted free agent. So Hassan Whiteside, they're trying to get rid of him. Say, yes, we will take that, and then go after Josh Richardson. Hey, we'll take Hassan Whiteside. Just give us Richardson. or Tyler Johnson, and then free up cap space because you won't need Taj Gibson, assuming that you get Hassan Whiteside. You won't need him anymore after that. Then if you can find somebody else, free up as much cap space as you can, that's what I would do. But at the same time, it's Tom Thibodeau. I don't expect anything to happen. It seems like they're not exercising common sense, but Glenn Taylor, he's not as inept as an owner as he is. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to fire himself. If he doesn't fire Tom Thibodeau, then this is a wash. And unfortunately, you're going to have to go through another couple of years of despair because Tom Thibodeau has turned out to be an awful coach. I don't think he's ever going to get a coaching job ever again. I wouldn't want him around any of my young players because he's not going to develop them. And here, there's no coaching in the sense. Here's the biggest indictment that I would say as far as a specific coaching example. Andrew Wiggins is still out there taking long, inefficient twos. It's not even, forget the fact that you're not even good at it. It's not even an efficient shot anymore in today's NBA. But he's still doing it. If I'm Coach Tibbs, I'm like, dude, you're either shooting corner threes or you're driving to the basket and shooting free throws, and that's it. But he's not doing any of that whatsoever. So we'll see what happens. Again, Vikings, Wolves content. I appreciate all you guys that have been supporting me going into year 3 of this podcast. Mediokr Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. We do this once a week. My apologies again. Oh, the reason why, dude, the Macintosh systems, you got to go in and find every little foul nook and cranny so to free up space. Anyway, we'll see you next week, baby. Ha ha!